Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to the 57th episode of Track Help on this fine Sunday evening after the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. And there's a reason why we're hyping up F1 this season. It looks like it's going to be an interesting year, and I'm delighted to be joined by two Ferrari fans, Marcel and Jeremy. What's up, guys?
Yeah, I'm good. You?
I can see the smiles already, although your cameras are not on. We bring up the results over here, and to be fair, do you think Leclerc did a good defense today?
Not only that, the strategy was all right, and that's news with big capitals.
Sorry, say that again, Marcel. The strategy?
Yes, Ferrari and strategy.
No.
Maybe they made a mistake and they did the wrong strategy, and it worked out.
Indeed. Shame for Hamilton. What happened with Hamilton? Pace or strategy or?
Or he need to retire.
It's too old.
Yeah, I think so.
That's a polite way of putting it. Indeed. We have to go over to the main talking point, lap one, turn one. We want you guys in the comments his opinion as well. Was that a penalty for Max? We'll start with Marcel.
No, I'm a Dutch guy, but I'm convinced it's a real penalty.
Any reason behind that?
Just look a few rounds after it. Somebody went off on the same place and did give it back right away. And no discussion about I was 1 centimeter before him on the apex. Things like that. No, he gained the advantage, so he needs to give it back or get a penalty.
Jeremy, what's your view on turn one, lap one?
Yeah, I think it wasn't the best of moves. It was very, very dodgy from him. So I think it was deserved.
Matteo saying great race for Piastri. DS is saying Piastri's going to dominate. It won't be boring. Trust. True. When a new person dominates, I agree. I'm supporting Piastri this year. Ferrari fan over here, but they're missing out big time. Big surprise. And people are agreeing about that. I think lap one, turn one. If you go back to 2021, Lewis versus Max. You guys remember that battle? Max was dive bombing, and there was lots at turn one.
Yeah.
I don't know if there were penalties in that race. Who
I can't remember.
I don't think we can recall, but yeah, Max was doing similar stuff like that and then going off the track, and it's that kind of tight chicane. But it's interesting. The stewards this time are not favoring the Max style, and it is a Max style. You could tell in turn one. You could tell Piastri had the better start. Max overlaps, so goes back out wide, tries to get that grippier entry, and then, in fact, he nearly gets his nose ahead, but then he runs out of road. And then who do you give the place to? Is it Piastri or is it Verstappen? I think Brundle made an interesting point on Sky Sports. He said he didn't agree with the 5-second penalty. He said it's either you swap the positions around or you don't do anything. Otherwise, the driver who's in clean air can just go ahead for 5 seconds and push. That's an interesting talking point. You see, already in one race, we've spoken, so much more about F1 in the last few years. Just shows how interesting the season is.
I wanted to add one more thing. I really enjoyed Isaac Hadjar. He was really great.
Honestly, rookie, fresh talent, hungry, and they're going to bring out some good performances. He deserves it. He's a quick guy, maybe not the best of luck so far, but I think he'll go a long way. We're going to have to stay on track. Let's get back to the karting for today. We got a couple of submissions, and we've got Jeremy to start off with another sprint race at Sandown, where he got P2, which is amazing. And then we're going to move on to William, who's just joined us now. What's up, William?
How's it going?
I'm very well, thank you. I'm really happy to hear your feedback, actually. First of all, from the fact that you put about 7/10 on your best lap. Is that correct?
Yeah, 7/10. So it's crazy. But
amazing. I remember we did a quick debrief about your footage. We reviewed it last time, and not only that, you took a podium, P2.
Yeah, it went really well. I qualified P5, so I started on the inside, and so I was able to overtake 2 people on the first turn and then 1 more person and keep everyone behind me.
Superb, superb, superb. So what we're going to do is start off with Jeremy's footage. We're then going to round off with William's footage, and in between we're going to go for some comments as well. In the meantime, whilst I bring up Jeremy's footage, I'm going to take a few comments. Just lower the volume over here. Academy on Google, and then just send a submission to join. I'll admit you in, and then you'll be able to post your questions or footage over here. Join this discussion, more importantly. What's up to Guy before we start in the debrief of Jeremy? What's up, Guy? Long time no see. Hope you can hear us. I think you're muted.
How you doing, Mark? How you doing, man? Good to see you.
Very, very well, thank you. We're just kicking off with Jeremy's footage, and feel free to give some inputs as well. And hopefully we'll have a chat once we get some time in between. Jeremy, what a start.
Yeah.
So qualified P2, Kart 24. Did you take 24 before?
No, but it didn't feel the best. So.
How was qualifying? I mean, you qualified quite far up, which maybe you got the best out of the kart. You felt?
Yeah. To be fair, I don't think there were many fast people today. It was just this person, and that was about it.
And then maybe just first time guys in the remainder of the race. Awesome. So when was this recorded?
Last Sunday.
Nice. And that was after your win that we reviewed last week.
Yeah. Yeah.
There you go. So obviously getting a lot of confidence after that. We discussed how persevering, going to the track regularly, and not getting disheartened over the early results will then lead to improvements, not only in your finishing positions, but then your racecraft overall, learning the track layout. This is quite an easy track layout to get used to. It's just a combination of hairpin turns. And then really it's about joining as many of these sprint races as possible. Is this the standard sprints? It's about what? 20-minute race, 10-minute quali? Or is it the D40?
No, 10 minutes and 20-minute race.
Yeah, and those are really good to do because that's a typical format in any karting competition in the world. They keep qualifying short, and then they'll do about a 20-minute race. So this is good experience. How was the weather this day? I mean, it looks quite gloomy. Looks quite damp maybe in some parts.
It started raining actually when we started.
Okay.
It wasn't like heavy rain. It was like light rain. So
I think overall, after these first couple of laps, you're having a good time. First of all, I could tell. It's nice to hear your enthusiasm through the GoPro, and you're giving 21 a hard time now. Was the plan to work together with him now, or you're going to go for a pass? What were you trying to do in this phase?
So first of all, it was a woman, and
it was a lady, female driver. Okay,
yeah, female driver, and she was visibly like really short, like quite short than me. So I knew there was going to be a massive weight difference.
Okay.
I just trying my best to try and like keep up with her because of the weight difference, obviously.
Yeah, that always helps because when it comes to a race and a long race, which is 20 minutes, you need to see where your strengths are over the opponent, where you may be lacking time to them, and simply by taking a look at their physique before you go out on track will give you a good idea, especially when these races, they don't have a minimum ballast weight. Everyone's just turns up and drives. So on the straights, you're going to gain. Maybe in the corners, if you have a better line, like we're seeing over here, you're going to catch up. What did you feel was then the strategy to pass her? Were you quicker in any parts of the track? Were you trying to plan a move?
I felt in some of the corners I was definitely faster, but it was just straights which I kept getting gapped and I couldn't do anything about it.
That's a common frustration drivers get.
Yeah.
Especially when you're driving against lighter drivers, catch them perhaps in the corners, and on the straight they just get that acceleration.
That's just an example right there. You could see I was closing the gap, and she just absolutely gapped me there.
So check it out. So closing on into the apex, you can see you take a tighter line, and then on the exit, breezes away again. Notice that the rain is coming down now. How heavily did it rain?
It wasn't that bad, but the
Okay.
track definitely getting worse.
In terms of the surface, then, did you feel there was a real change in grip? Were you sliding a bit more when some of this rain came out, or it wasn't enough?
I had to brake a bit early in some of the corners. That
Okay.
was about it.
Yeah, bit of
That's
sliding
the-
as well. You can
yeah.
tell. Cold track with, bits of rain coming down, it's always going to be uncertain, and different parts of the track will be different conditions. What you can do once it really starts to lash down, you revert back to the wet line, which is that wider line around the outside of the corner, off the traditional line, which becomes quite slippery once more and more rain comes down. And that's always a fun experience to be in those kinds of races. I always encourage people, don't get disappointed when it starts raining. Use it as a challenge. I think it was Jensen Button. His dad just used to send him out on slick tires during the rain, and he used to tell his son, "No, this is all just for practice." Apparently, in reality, his dad couldn't afford the wet tires, so Jensen would just go out and do laps. But that was absolutely, valuable experience he got, because he's able to adapt to driving on slicks on a wet track, and that poses its own challenges. Of course, you can really find the limit of grip. You can really test your skill with braking, throttle application, and any chance you get out on a wet track on slick tires. Don't worry, the track should have a wetsuit. I know Daytona do have that, so as long as you have a change of clothes after, I always encourage wet driving on outdoor tracks. So we discussed last week about lap traffic over here, and we discussed that they do unpredictable things.
Yeah.
They can work in your favor or against you. Right? Sometimes they might take you out. Sometimes they might park it on the apex, unconsciously, and then it holds you up. Sometimes they may hold up the driver in front, and then you're able to maneuver around that and gain advantage. What was the overall, situation with the lap traffic this time? Were you quite lucky, or not so much?
It was all fine until like the last 5 minutes. It just then lap traffic got really bad, and it
Okay. Well, towards the end of the race, drivers might be getting a bit tired, or they're just getting a bit rowdy as well. They want to do some last lap battles. You can see there's big packs of carts you're passing over here, and this is really good because 1-2 race situation when it's you and the leader, there's a lot of opportunity to either one of you get held up. So across 20 minutes, you'd expect something to happen. Did it work in your favor or against you? The lap traffic this time?
I think definitely against me.
Definitely against. Any specific timestamps that we can go to review?
If you just like slowly scroll, there might be one where I just get like he went down the inside for like not even, I don't know, he was kind of just spun me out.
Oh, you even spun out?
Yeah, he just dived on me when the move wasn't on.
I think that will be an interesting one to watch. It could be over here, Which corner was it that you spun?
This one here, the left-hander.
Okay. Oh, this is it.
There, well, right there.
Bang on cue, right? I believe it's driver or cart number 25. Is that 26 that we're watching? Yeah, 26 on the left. Essentially, through the first corner, you make a clean pass down the inside. You dispatch of him by the time we get to turn 2. Now we're going to turn 3. You think, well, I've probably cleared him. Stick to your normal wide line. Put it in slow-mo just to get the real effect now. From the outside edge, cut back to the inside edge, and then he's decided to dive bomb you. And in fact, that's not even 26. That's 27 it took you. So it'll be interesting to see where 27 appeared from. Was he a long way back? Because I don't seem to see 27, unless this is him out the main straight. Yeah. So what happened with 27 over here?
I don't know.
He gained an incredible amount of lap time from the last corner of the last lap. So you can see over here, you passed him. side by side. Okay, he's defending, weaving a bit on the straights. Now you pass him. And it's about in 3 or 4 corners time where he's going to take you out. So he actually maybe followed your line all the way until here. And then he went for a dive bomb. So there we go. When we talk about being rowdy and it's the last few laps, well, he certainly gave it a good shot there. I mean, did the marshals do anything? Did you see his number come up on the screen? Or
I looked at the marshal.
yeah.
I looked and like put my hands up, but I don't know if anything happened. I didn't remember his cart number at the time. So
Yeah. It's only now we're slowing it down, we know. So what happened now? What's your strategy? Someone's taking you out. Are you gonna go for revenge?
no, P1 was gone, so I just thought try and get some good laps in, I guess.
Let's see how you pass it now. You're clearly quick as we come through the final sector. Gaining on the straight. Let's just see how you negotiate him again through turn 1. He's definitely trying hard, which is always the case with aggressive drivers, and then he gets the bad luck. And 2 laps in a row. I think he's just having a good time. He's pushing hard. He wants to fight. Oh, this is unlucky over here. So what happens? He goes for the same move the following lap, but in slow-mo. Huge dive bomb again this time. And then essentially slams on the brakes as number 1 comes across the track, or number 3, that is. What happens is you're forced to get behind him, and that's always the worst position to be on track, especially when a car is rolling backwards. It's always going to go into you like that. You had no choice here, right? Because you're attempting the switchback, and then you're just going to get collected, and then you have to rejoin the race, still behind him. So gives you the thumbs up. It's just a bit of fun. Finally, how do we dispatch of this driver? We got to see. Tempting him for a dive bomb, perhaps. He gets a worse exit, and now it's side by side. 24 looks slightly quick on the straights, and I believe. Does he dive bomb you again? No, he doesn't. I was just waiting for that. That's brave of you to go, so clean on your line and so wide. Again, just attempt him. In that situation, what I would have done as well is, you showed no fear over here. You just passed him and got on with your race and your line. In entry for the left-hander, I would have probably peeked over my shoulder just to see how far the gap was. And then, if you scoot too close or too far, then come back across. So essentially, that was the real talking point. You lost P1 for a number of factors. Could say the driver was lighter. I still think you gave it a good go. You could have tried to, be more aggressive on some of the corners where, I'm not saying to use overtaking tactics like 27 did, where he's, clearly bumping, push to pass as we call it. But it's one of those hindsight things. When we watch the footage back, it's easy to say, well, you could have done from here and there. In future, I would say, just for a different experience, be aggressive to try and dive bomb one of these drivers, and then just go full, Sergio Perez or Max Verstappen mode on the straights. Experience that kind of defending, because they're obviously going to have the advantage. But it's a bit of fun. Otherwise, they're just going to gap you, and then over 20 minutes, the gap opens up. So that's pretty much race over. When's your next race, Jeremy?
Middle of May, somewhere around there.
Sun will hopefully be out. It'll be springtime in full effect. Sandown again?
Yep.
Super. Well, we look forward to seeing more footage from there, and hopefully you can share us another exciting race like that.
All right. Thank you.
No worries at all. Anything else, Jeremy, before we move on to the next driver?
No, that's all.
All right, then. Take care, Jeremy. We look forward to seeing you next time in Track Help. Be sure to stay on the live meet or the live stream. As I say that, we had a couple of drivers join. We had, I believe, it was Riri and Rida, but they've literally just left now. So I'm afraid we're not going to be able to have a quick chat with them. We had Guy as well join, but then he left. Logan's asking on Instagram, don't you guys recommend any karting schools for me as a 13-year-old, or do you guys recommend? And for 13 years old, you're basically on that cusp of junior to senior category. We're talking about rental karts. I know some tracks, the limit for junior is 12 or 13, and then 14 onwards, you can drive the adult kart. So go to your local outdoor track, right? They normally have like these race program or race academy things. You can even find that in indoor tracks. Logan, it really depends where you live. Let us know which country you're based in, then we can give you some suggestions. But generally popular outdoor tracks and some indoor tracks have these after school programs or race academy programs, and that encourages drivers to sign up on like a term by term basis, come and do frequent practice sessions for training, and then like a monthly sprint race so you can put your skills to the test. And then it runs alongside the school year, so when you're at school you can use it as a after school activity. And then they even do summer camps as well. In terms of specific names, you're going to have to let us know which country you're based in so we can give you some recommendations. Kiza is responded, usually local tracks do provide training, for people looking to learn. Absolutely. We had Lorenzo in the chat on YouTube. What's up, Lorenzo? And then Alex as well. Sorry, Jeremy, go ahead.
Okay, I was just going to ask a question.
Go ahead.
So, for the wetsuits you put over your suit,
yeah,
does it have to be the same like brand, or can it be like Alpine Stars and Sparker, or does it have to be Alpine Stars on Alpine Stars? That's
a really good question. It can be anyone because it's just a protective overlayer. Just look at their size guide, because OMP to Alpine Stars to Sparkle might be slightly different. For example, on the chest size, the arm length. I'm talking ever so slightly. So look at that beforehand. But in terms of the wetsuit, you can go for anyone. For example, if it was raining that day before you went out on track, Daytona would have told you to use their wetsuits or advise you. And that, in my experience, fits really well over my Sparkle suit. So any brand, preferably take a slightly oversized one, just so getting in and out is a bit easier.
Okay.
If you're a small, get a medium. And yeah, it's simply to protect you from getting soaked, and always have a towel or spare pair of clothes in the car. That's very much advised.
All right, thanks.
Don't do what I did at Buckmore Park and went boat racing and had no clothes after. William, you still there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Excellent. We're going to move on to your footage, William. And I understand it's a new track you're racing at. What's the name of this place?
So it's still K1, but they have two tracks at their location. So they alternated between league races.
Is it basically a alternative layout, you can say?
Location,
different layout, or
it's two different tracks, and then sometimes they combine the tracks to make one big one. But there are just two different tracks.
Awesome. What we're going to do is take a look at this track map, because this is really good, which you put up over here. Now, how often have you been to this track then?
Probably 2 weeks. So the first week I ever started back in March was the first league race, and I was on that track for about a week, and now I started back on it in April after the second race.
Gotcha.
So about 3 weeks.
Talk me through the start-finish line, first of all. Is it somewhere down here?
Right at that bottom of the arrow is the start-finish line. So like
somewhere
right in the
here.
middle of that straight.
Okay, cool. And we go in this direction, yeah?
Yes.
Perfect. So basically, we've got a double hairpin to start off with for our first sector, which immediately goes into, so it's a right hairpin, left hairpin into a tight right hairpin again. And we can start the middle part of the track over here. Chicane looking sequence. We're going to look at the footage, of course, but it's a left, right into a tight left. And then we round the track off with our third sector, another tight hairpin, and then almost a 90-degree right-hander before you start your lap. So far, what's the good parts that you're doing well at? What are the sectors that you're still trying to improve on?
So the beginning of the second sector, I would say second sector, I kind of like nailed it down, especially recently, towards the end, the last double hairpin. Just knowing when to like cruise almost, like let off the acceleration and like be able to take the second part full throttle without like getting any juddering.
Amazing.
But the first one is where I'm struggling in and trying to figure out the breaking points. In the video, I put two videos side by side where
Nice.
it shows basically one method where I didn't brake, and I just, because during the league races I saw there was two guys that had equal times and that were the fastest, running 20.2, which one wasn't braking, just cruising, and one was just tapping the brakes and then turning. And so I tried both of those methods and I just put them in, seeing which one you thought would be
That's
the best
awesome.
to.
That is really, really good. Obviously, the track map is a bit deceptive because 20 seconds is again a very quick lap. So it's a lot smaller than we thought. But yeah, essentially going through to the lap, then we'll put it in slow-mo after coming out the final corner. This is your start finish line. We got the turn 1 hairpin into the turn 2 hairpin. How's the surface over here compared to the K1? What are the names of these tracks so we can differentiate? The one you did last week, and then this one.
They just call this one track 1 and the second one track 2.
Okay, so what's the difference in surface you think from track 1 and track 2?
They're the same surface. It's just like basically the whole flooring is this, and so it's just this like big concrete slab where basically it starts off really cold unless people are running on it this like constantly. So that's why usually league races people are able to gain those like extra tenths of a second just because people are running on it so much that it's just a lot more grippier.
Gotcha. Middle sector again, into the final couple of corners. And this is just all about getting on the gas and building up your speed again. That's awesome. I want to slow this down now, get my pen out as well, because this is going to be really good to analyze between the two laps, of course. And on the right-hand side, we've got brake then turn, and then on the left-hand side we got no brake. This is like a KTips video I'm watching.
Yeah, I got that.
There's no brake.
I cut it off just like you. I was like, oh, that's like a good way to analyze the videos.
You won't believe split screen is underrated, especially when you look at your own footage, because you can see exactly, frame by frame what the differences were, where you might gain, where you might be losing. Let's look at the entries on both laps. You'll notice that we're looking at a net 4/10 difference, so 20.7 on the left and 21.1 on the right.
Looking at it, it's that second to third sector where I'm losing that time, where I didn't figure out on the right line. I didn't figure out that I should ease off the acceleration a little bit during it, which made the juddering of the car. So the left one, definitely, that's where I'm gaining. But the first sectors, these two are almost equal, and that's why I'm just trying to figure out which method would be best.
Awesome. In the no brake, is that flat out or is there a lift?
There's a lift. So about the change of color between right, almost like at the end of the air row to the change of colors, like right in between there's like a little indent. That's where I lift off. I turn and then I slowly put on the acceleration. While the right side, right before that sign that says to brake, that's where I brake and then let off and turn.
Gotcha. It's nice to see the footwork over there, especially when you're feeding the gas again. So essentially, we're going for a lift at this point. I'm curious to see. That's brake, then turn. So you think on the right side, you're putting gas sooner or about the same time?
So before I did the brake and then like feed it, and I would get around a 21.3. And then one of the guys said to basically, I wasn't sure how to do it, so I just tried it. But ethically, I feel like it's wrong. But he said just destroy the cart and keep your gas on the throttle and just destroy these brakes. It's not your cart. So I was like, I'll try it. What I noticed. So I kept on the acceleration for this one.
Yeah. Amazing. I thought so. I was like, there's no way I see your foot coming off compared to on the left side. It's quite clear, which is really interesting because a lot of these gas carts, the modern ones they're making now from Saudi and Birel, they cut out the gas ignition as soon as you put any brake pressure, believe it or not. So it's like a manufacturer setting where you can get more longevity out the karts. These are slightly older karts, I assume. So
Yes.
do you feel that are you comfortable with brake and holding gas?
It's definitely weird.
Yeah,
I'm not
it
sure if
is.
I want to keep with it just because it's a bad habit to keep.
Mhm.
But I just wanted to see like how it worked.
Yeah.
Um,
If I analyze just a couple of things over here, I feel your entry on the left side on the no brake lap or the lift lap was set up better in advance. If we look at the angle we're approaching these corners at, specifically look at the track width to the left-hand barrier. So on the left side, you're slightly narrower, you're slightly closer to the left. Whereas on the right lap, you're having to travel almost diagonally to the left now and then set up to go wide. So basically what I'm saying is that I like your setup over here. You're doing less work, right? You're already wide. Whereas on the right-hand side, you're slightly having to turn to the left and then set up to go wide.
yeah.
Additionally, I feel you get a better exit on the left-hand side. So if you watch this, that lift and turn in, and as you feed that gas, watch the effect it has on your steering wheel, how much oversteer you're getting as you feed that gas. Oversteering over here on the left already. Slightly later on the right, but significantly less oversteer. If you look in this freeze frame, this means we're pushing the kart more. We're on the limit of grip more than the right-hand side. Now, this doesn't mean you're doing something wrong. I'd say this is pretty much the absolute limit. If you're going a few more degrees oversteer, maybe then you're sliding excessively. Because what we're doing over here is we're having a mini slide. But you want that, especially in these indoor karts with this kind of track surface. If you're too smooth and you're holding your steering angle, all the way to the right and then unwind your steering wheel, you're not at the limit of grip, the full potential. Here, this is awesome, right on the limit. And look at when we reach the apex points. Number one, we're closer to the apex for turn one on the left side, no brake lap, one on the right side, leaving a bit of a gap. And I'd say you're like a fraction behind, right? If we compare where the nose of the kart is, I'd say you're slightly ahead on the no brake lap. So this more aggressive approach, being on the limit of grip, has allowed you to get a bit better exit speed as well. Because if you watch the exits as we hit I'd say the left-hand barrier is not too clear. Let's look at the line. It almost neutralizes. It's a fraction almost. You may have gained a slight advantage on exit over here. Let's go through the tight left again on the freeze frame. A lot closer to the apex. Yeah. So ultimately on the exit of 2, I think you're going to gain some time. And you can see that because you hit this black barrier much sooner than we are on the right-hand side. So basically, you're driving both parts flat out, I assume?
Yeah. So everything else is the same except for I lift a little at the last sector for the beginning.
Gotcha. So essentially, this left is flat.
Yes.
Awesome. I really like the turn in over here then for the left. I think you're gaining some time through here. You hit the sweet spot. Just looking at where you turn in, it's quite similar on both laps. I think you get more rotation over here, or maybe you're turning sharper over here as well. In terms of a few more degrees of steering angle on the left, that helps you get close to the apex. Look at that. You can literally fit a piece of paper between your kart and the barrier. That's what you want. Moment you start leaving gaps like this, it can be 1/2 on the table. Let's just go through the remainder of the lap, setting up for the fast right. So what's your opinion through here? This right, this is flat, yeah?
Yeah,
Or
this one is
slight lift.
It's in between. I'm trying to figure it out because both methods, I feel like if I lift fully, I lose too much. But then if I go full throttle, sometimes the car will like bounce a little bit. So I'm just trying to find that like little sweet spot. Here I was full, or no, here I lift. On the left I
Yeah.
lifted a little, but then on the
Bit more
right
to the
I was
left there.
full.
Could have gone through. What I've noticed over here is that slight lift, right, on entry
Mhm.
may have lost you a bit of entry speed compared to the right lap where you're fully on the gas. Is there a tap of the brake? I can't tell on this right hand side. Maybe a
No,
tap.
I didn't tap the brake.
Okay, that was
never
flat
did.
then, right?
Yeah.
Perfect. This is a good example of how going flat and trusting the cart and leaning on those outside tires to the left will be better than lifting ever so slightly. Because if you watch the left hand side, your foot comes off, maybe 50% off the gas. Just watch over here, slight lift there. So that allows the right hand lap to catch up and actually gain slightly towards the apex. You're almost side by side up here. Try flat out. I'd recommend if you can get the line right and if you can lean on the cart just about. If that doesn't work out and you feel maybe you're sliding too much or losing a bit too much time, lift by 25%. So ever so slightly, reduce that speed. And I'd encourage that lift to be early in the corner. You don't want to lift, too close to the apex because it can disrupt that momentum. Earlier you lift in the corner, easier it is to go back on gas and gain time. Final couple of corners because it's a very, very short lap. All about placement of the car over here. I really feel you're hugging those barriers. And I don't know if you were attacking the sector better on the left side, because if you look how close you go to this right-hand barrier coming up, just over here, you almost graze it on the right side.
Yeah, I didn't hit that one right
ever
there.
so slightly. And just trying to see the difference of lines over here. So what happens on the right side is you're setting up for a slightly wider entry, so then you can flick it to the left for that corner. Whereas here, because you've bumped the barrier maybe unconsciously, it's going to send you to the middle of the track, so you take a tighter line. And you can notice the approach over here. Let me just move this out the way. Here we got the wide line. We can see the barrier on the right side in frame. Whereas over here on the left-hand side, we're on a tighter line, right? Ever so slightly. And maybe taking that less meters allows you to gain a couple of tenths.
Yeah, I've talked to some of the guys who've been doing this for a while, and so many people take this chicane so many different, where some people are stick to the middle so that they can gain more speed, but then some people say that going out wide will give you a better setup to exit on the second hairpin, allowing to be closer on the inside, which allows them to be their time to be faster.
It's that sweet spot, I think. The guy who did 20.2, is that the record?
Yeah, so 20.2 was the fastest time for the league last 2 months ago. Yeah,
because I'm trying to figure out what track conditions that was set at. Where is he gaining that half second?
The fastest that day was a 20.55. So I was about 2/10 quicker for that day's.
Super.
Or 2/10. No, 2/10 less.
2/10 less. 2/10 there's not much to put in that. See, overall, in terms of the lap times, you'd clearly say, well, if one is getting you 21 and one is getting 20.7, you stick to this 20.7.
Yeah.
And this style is about lifting and basically no brakes. And I agree with that. This is one of those tracks where if you go at the right time, there'll be just enough grip, and there'll be just enough, potential to almost go flat. Apart from turn one, which is probably the biggest lifting point. I really like this entry for turn one. I'm just trying to think. What you could do differently maybe next time is try to, delay the turn in slightly.
Yeah.
But I can see what you're doing with that early turn where you're trying to get that mini slide to occur. So you're turning in early, so as you put the foot on the gas, then you're able to just drift through the corner. Looking back at it now one more time, no, I do think when you're lifting, just be aware why don't we put a few degrees less steering angle?
Mhm.
Looking back one more time, try that out. Yeah, maybe here you were a bit too excessive. I don't know. I would go out and try that again. In terms of the rest of the lap, I really like how you're attacking turn 2. So you're keeping a tight line or slightly in the middle within this black line. Flick it to the left. This is really good. Keep that up. Again, get as close to the apex as possible. That'll get you better exit speed, as we saw over here. And finally, for this turn, so how can we make this lap from 20.7 to maybe a 20.5?
Yeah.
I think you could gain a 10th by maybe attempting this corner flat out.
Mhm.
Maybe a 10th is there to gain. And through the left right, I'd keep this narrow line. I like the idea behind that. I think you're gaining time on the brake lap just by taking less meters. What do you think?
I agree. It felt weird because especially watching your videos and especially watching your video about the no braking versus braking video. I was like, why is it my no braking faster? Even though his video said you shouldn't do that. And it's like
the key point in the video was the track and karts, because honestly it will depend, right? So at the Villaggio karting track where you saw that video, definitely it doesn't work, brake versus no brake. Also remember, in that no brake lap I was going flat through everything. There was no lift. Maybe I should do a brake versus lift at that track. I think that's a very, very good idea. But no, it depends on your track conditions. And as far as I'm concerned, this track, scrap the braking and test out this more aggressive style. Just be wary that turn 1, maybe a little less oversteer. Figure out how that'll do. And then the following right over here, try to go flat out. Are you leaning at all in this corner? Leaning out?
Yeah, I'm leaning as much back and left as I can.
Amazing. I mean, keep that up. You'll need it for this corner to go flat out. When are you going to the track next?
I'll be going this Friday, and then
Superb.
The race isn't till May 3rd, so on 2 Sundays.
So you've got a couple of weeks to practice. I would try and test as much out as possible in these couple of weeks. Let me know how it goes, these 2 improvements, turn 1 and then through the fast right-hander as well. And any few questions before we move on to the next driver?
Just knowing or understanding what different scenarios means, because sometimes when I'm on the track, sometimes it's cold or I guess I'll restart. So when I'm turning, sometimes when I turn, it almost feels like I'm drifting, while sometimes it feels like I'm bouncing, and I'm just trying to figure out what I should do difference between the scenarios and what each one means, versus when I'm almost feels like I'm sliding versus the car's bouncing in the turn. The car's still rotating, but it's bounce versus slide.
I think that's a really, really good question. And the thing is, it depends on grip, I'd say. I've found on high grip surfaces, when you try and carry lots of speed in a corner, you get lots of bouncing. Do you feel that the same corner, sometimes it hops or bounces and sometimes it slides?
That turn 1, I feel like sometimes when I'm the first one there, I get there early, it slides a lot. Or if I brake a lot and then turn, it'll slide. But then when I do go fast, do the lift, sometimes I turn. Sometimes if I go a little faster than I anticipated, it does that juddering and starts bouncing. Yeah.
That's just the nature of that corner, I'd say. And then in terms of the speeds that you're taking at it, that's how the kart will be affected. So when you go, with no brake, you're carrying a bit more speed, and that can encourage, more bouncing, because you're trying to take that corner faster with whatever grip is there. When you brake, naturally, you're encouraging the rear end to step out a little, so the kart does feel like it's sliding. And that's just in terms of the 2 different driving styles, right? When you brake, the kart is going to feel loose. I'm sliding a bit more. And that's sometimes your attention as well, right? Because the brake's only at the rear, so more we load them, the more the reel will step out. Then with the lift, yeah, there's no brakes as per se, but there's more speed compared to the braking lap. So more speed on that grippy surface will encourage the kart to bounce. And I would say it's just one of those things you got to make do with, deal with, right?
Yeah.
Because you want to try and go as fast as possible through the corner. And if you were to back off, right, and do more lifting or more braking and just go slower through there, you're going to lose lap time. So you might not slide or you might not bounce, but you're going slower. So sometimes ride the bumps, right? A bit of sliding, here and there isn't going to hurt you too much. But once you feel you're stopping and all, then maybe you're going a bit too fast and you're going to have to slow down.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
No worries at all. It's always a pleasure, William. Thank you so much for joining. We're going to take a couple of comments from Instagram over here, where Kizzer is saying weight differences maybe. Yeah, that definitely is a factor, especially as we discussed with Jeremy in the first submission, where he was against a much lighter driver. We got a couple of comments about Max and Lewis. I'm surprised it's Max and Lewis is still going on. Honestly, I thought it would be Max or Piastri or Orlando. Who would you take? That's so tough. Lewis. It's got to be Lewis. Come on. 8-time world champion, huh? Let us know what you guys think. Marcel, you're commenting at your second. I was trying to understand, Marcel, what at your second favorite kid meant, but that was obviously somebody's username from the beginning.
Oh yeah, it was. Sorry.
No worries at all. We're going to round off today's session with Harry. What's up, Harry? Welcome back to Track Help.
Hello, hi.
How have you been, Harry?
Good.
I've been following your photography page. Let's just bring it up over here. And I wanted to ask you, actually, how is Power Media going?
It's all right. I've been covering a few events actually. It's quite fun to do actually.
So when did you start Power Media?
I got a camera in July, but I started actually doing like photos in kind of late 2024, so like December, maybe November.
Yeah. And it's a passion of yours, right?
Yeah.
Amazing. Check out Harry's Instagram page over here. Is it specifically for karting drivers? What services do you offer?
So I mean, for the majority, I just do karting stuff. I mean, sometimes I'll do some cars. I'm hoping to cover like Goodwood and stuff like that later this year. But mainly, I've just had karting events, so I'll be going to the 24-hour Butmore next weekend.
Amazing.
And yeah,
I think this is a really good initiative that you've taken, a great step. And the most important thing is just to keep going now, because you're building up lots of experience. You've got a very, very good website. How long did this take to develop? Because it looks amazing. Very, very clean.
So it's kind of like Squarespace, but it's not really Squarespace. It's made for like photographers. So luckily, it kind of helped it out. So it wasn't that hard to put together, but it was quite easy actually.
Absolutely. Now, in the last race where you were taking photos, did you also race as well in that round?
Yeah. So a lot of things I do.
How do you manage that?
So,
racing and taking photos.
I mean, usually, so at that event there, the photo that you just see there, they had both classes racing together. But like for Club 100, usually they'll have super lightweights on one day and then lightweights on another day together.
Yeah.
Sometimes what I might do is I'll turn up to. So I was racing on the Sunday. I'll turn up on the Saturday and take some photos, or I'll just when I have the free time, because at Club 100 there's so many classes racing, like eight different sessions going on. So you have like pretty much 6 sessions, and before you have to get ready to go on. So I just use that time to just take photos, and
that's amazing. No, honestly, that's awesome, and you've managed to do your racing as well and maximize your time at the track, where normally you'd have, as you said, 6 sessions off, which is about an hour, right? Or hour and a half?
More than that, yeah. I mean, it really depends. But I always get like the top drivers getting them. So I'll always kind of milk people winning, coming across the line, celebrating, and
Yeah.
usually they'll buy the photos, and then I can
Absolutely.
kind of show that it's the winning. Clearly, it's winning.
Yeah. It's those are the money shots, really. That's what everyone wants to see. That's what everyone wants to post on the Instagrams as well. And yeah, nowadays karting drivers and photos are in high demand. Everyone wants photos. As much as we do the driving on the track, we're always going to be hassling the track photographer or whatever for some pics. And yeah, the fact that you're doing it independently now means people have got options. So what's the best way to book you for a day? Is it going onto your website?
There's so many different ways. I mean,
Yep.
the best bet is just to message me. But I mean, I've seen a lot of people say that there's issues with messaging me, so it's just go onto the website,
Yeah.
contact page and everything like that. But
All
I
the
mean,
information there.
yeah, it's crazy though, the media in karting now. At British Championships, you have like 3 different teams going everywhere on track, and it's crazy how
Yeah.
much media's grown since last year, and it's quite big in karting drivers as well. You'll see
Yeah.
I think a few of the British champs when they're off track, they'll take some videos. I think you have Finley Lyons who won the Rotax in mini Rotax last year, and now he's doing X30 and covering media whilst also racing as well.
Nice. The thing is, media, photography, video, it's all about capturing the event. And in every karting race, rentals to owners, so much happens. There's a whole build up from start of the day, setting up the karts, the different heats, then of course the post race, the winners, the podium, group photos, all that. It's a whole event. So if you follow your favorite football teams, for example, and they have their weekly matches, their media pages do a great job of capturing the beforehand, the warm-ups, then the matches. They'll be posting what's going on. It gives everyone at home an idea of how it feels, to be there. And only through experience, how thrilling it is to be at these karting races. And it's our version of F1. I always tell people. So there's always these awesome races going on every week. And if you're able to capture it in a great way, tell a story, obviously through social media, then no, you're going to get a good following, and there's going to be people who can't make it to the events will just be following through their phones and all. Harry, any footage you wanted to go over today? Anything you wanted to discuss in particular?
I would love to show you my footage from GYG, but the only
Yeah.
footage I've got is my pre-event testing, which
Okay.
I'll be honest was not my greatest of driving.
No, it's a very beautiful track though, GYG.
Oh yeah, it's good fun. I mean, I did pretty well. But
Yeah.
then in practice, I go over a curb and my GoPro flies off, and it's not even that I can sort of put it together, because the actual like feet which you put the screws through came off, and I don't have any
Yeah.
spare screws. So
Oh gosh. About GYG then, do they do rentals like in
Yeah,
the weekdays for
they
public
do
karting?
they do have 200cc biz car rentals,
Nice.
which are good, but obviously they do look good fun in like owner karting as well.
Yeah, definitely. This is one of the tracks I missed when I was visiting the UK last, but definitely it's would you say it's worth the trek up to Wales?
Yeah, it's probably one of the best tracks in the UK. I mean, in the UK there's so many tracks, but the northern ones are the best, no doubt.
Absolutely. What sort of lap times are you guys doing in Club 100 over here?
50s, 49s.
Oh wow. Okay. So you'd say it's about a minute or 55 in the rentals?
Yeah, probably somewhere around that.
Yeah, definitely. And it's a big configuration they got.
Yeah.
Superb. When is your next round then in Club 100?
2 weeks time, I think, in Shennington. 2 or 3 weeks time.
Okay. And how's it going so far this season? I know it's your second year running or third.
Second year doing Club 100, but this is like my first year of like actually doing it in the main
Yeah.
series. But they've split it up now, so there's a north and south. So I just did a one-off north round because I needed the seat time, because at Wilton Mill
Yeah.
I didn't have the greatest of race. I think I came second last or something.
And
But
how many more rounds now this season?
so there's 7 more rounds in the south, but I'm missing one out. So
Okay.
it will be fun. I think it's mainly the weight which I need to focus on, which I have dropped. But I'm doing still quite well for being like quite over the weight limit.
Yeah, and that's always going to be a factor when you have a minimum weight everyone has to reach. And then how much over are you?
It really depends each race because
Yeah.
I don't know if there's something up the scales, but it can vary from like 10 kg to 15 kg.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's a lot, to be fair. So you're just gonna have to suffer with whatever you lose, and then just do your best on track. I'd say, not much more beyond that.
Yeah.
We're gonna round off for today's session. Anything else, Harry, you wanted to go over before we wrap up for today?
No, I think that's all. I think I might come to one or two sessions before, so I can get a better understanding of Shannington. See if I can.
let's
find some more
do it. Look forward to that. If you got some footage as well, or we can get some from YouTube. We'd definitely like to go over that. We're just gonna round off with Vangelis. So he's put a really good question out over here, saying, on an outdoor track, is a little slide necessary? And that's a very, very good point, because you've heard me say, you've heard other people say, don't slide, don't drift. But when I've said that in my videos, we're talking about Tokyo drift, right? Or Mario Kart drifts, which are obviously going to slow you down. If you watch the top drivers in karting, type in any onboards, you'll see that under braking, right, they're aggressive with the brakes, high amount of pressure to get the rear end to rotate, to step out. And that step out is essentially a mini slide, as you're talking about. And that will make you faster. I went over it in the slip angle video, right? Getting a mini slide is essentially using a high amount of slip angle, right? So you're going to get a few degrees of counter steer through a corner. And if you're not hitting that and you're just smoothly, gliding or coasting through a corner, there's time left on the table. You're essentially underdriving. When you hit those few degrees of counter steer, then you're pretty much on the limit, right, of grip. And when you counter steer excessively and you start, drifting and doing your Mario Kart stuff and your Tokyo drifts, then you're over the limit. So it's all about finding that middle ground. You don't want to be over the limit. You don't want to be under the limit. You want to be on the absolute middle path. I mean, don't we have to be smooth? You have to be smooth, of course. So you're not going to excessively counter steer, then bring it back to the middle and counter steer again, or do corrections left, right. It's a flow, right, that you go through. And if you watch the top drivers in karting, you'll notice they barely turn the steering wheel. It's like, hold on, how is this guy, steering? Is his steering animation turned off? So that's the definition of being smooth. Avoid corrections and make it look like you're in neutral steer at all times. We're gonna have to round up for today's video. Thank you all so much for watching. Just to take a couple of questions earlier today, people were asking, how can we join the weekly sessions now that karting season is on? Keeping the Sunday evening session, we're soon going to be add a Saturday afternoon or morning session. So if you're in another part of the world, the time zone will be better for you. And because more and more people are doing karting now, hopefully we'll have more of a turnout. Once you join the academy, you'll be able to submit a video under this pinned post every week, like Jeremy did, or like William did over here, and he even put a track map. If you don't have your own footage, we can find some from YouTube and we can have a chat about it. Make sure you put a quick and brief description of what you want to discuss. And we look forward to catching up with you guys next week at Sunday at 6 p.m. GMT. But until then, guys, we will see you all then. Take care, everyone. Good night.
Thank you.